Well, good morning all, and again, such a wonderful way to arrive at such an important occasion with Australia's longest serving town band. So again, another round of applause to Singleton Town Band. We come together on this auspicious occasion where as a country we recognise the past, we celebrate the current, and we look forward to the future. My name's Jason Linane. I'm the General Manager at Singleton Council, and it's my pleasure to be assisting the chairperson of our Singleton Australia Day Committee, Councillor Denny Thompson, as the MC for today's events. But also, I'm very, very glad, very pleased to announce the arrival of the Lone Pine School of Infantry Army Guard. Wow, what a welcoming and what an approach by our Lone Pine School of Infantry. It's now my pleasure to announce the arrival of the official party for today's proceedings. And I start with the Chairman of the Singleton Australia Day Committee, Councillor Denny Thompson, and his wife, Mrs. Julianne Thompson. The Mayor of Singleton, Councillor Sue Moore, and Mr. Alan Moore. Our Australia Day Ambassador and special guest, Mr. Charles Croucher and Angus Ledbridge. Lieutenant Colonel James Smith, Commanding Officer of School of Infantry. Reverend Marianne Reynolds, All Saints Anglican Church, representing the Ministers Association. Mr. Mitch Madden, representing the Chairman and Board of Directors of Singleton Diggers. Mr. Gary Holland, the 2020 Citizen of the Year. And last but certainly not least, our 2020 Young Achiever of the Year award winner, Mr. Darcy Gilson. I'd also like to acknowledge the candidates for the citizenship in today's proceedings, and also the nominees for the Citizen of the Year.
We're very privileged today to have the Army here with us, and shortly they'll be breaking the flag as part of the ceremony that we as a community have missed over the years, and thank them very much for their presence here today. Thank you very much for that wonderful. And now, would you join us in looking at the flag, looking at our corner as the Army break the flag? Thank you very much.
I'd now like to warmly welcome Wonnarua Elder, Mr. Warren Taggart, to deliver the welcome to country.
It's way too tall, too quiet. Morning all. I'm Uncle Warren. I'm an elder of the Wonnarua people. I'd like to first for a start, it's better start again. I'd like to thank the members of the Australian Day Committee for asking me to do the Welcome to Country here for Australia Day 2021. I'd like to ask that we take a moment to acknowledge the traditional people of this beautiful land, the Wonnarua people. Our elders have walked with us, sat with us, tell us stories. We would listen, we would watch, and we would learn. But it was more for us to understand our culture, our land, our law. Every part of the traditional land of the Wonnarua people tells a story. And through the eyes of our ancestors and elders, we can see it, we can feel it. We have Mother Earth opening her arms up today for us. We have Karwal painting the sky blue with his wings. We have Biami, creator of all, looking over us. This beautiful land is a part of us and always will be. Our ancestors have walked this land for thousands of years and still walk it today, leaving their footprints behind so others can follow to keep the culture and the Dreamtime alive. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge my people, the Wonnarua people, the traditional owners of this land that we're meeting on, and extend my acknowledgement to all Aboriginal people and non-Aboriginal people that are here today, so we can share our land and our culture with you. I pay my respect to my elders, past, present, for they hold the memories, tradition, culture and stories of this land, Mother Earth, that we love, work, play and live on. On behalf of myself, a Wonnarua elder, I welcome you to our land, and may you leave here with Karwal watching over you and protecting you on your journey forward. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Uncle Warren. It's a very special part of our ceremony. I'd like to invite the Reverend Mary Ann Reynolds to come forward, representing the Ministers Association, to give her Australia Day blessing. Thank you.
God of Australia, you have loved this ancient land long before humans walked upon it. On this day, there are many mixed feelings, but we give thanks for this nation and the blessing life here provides. We are blessed by the diversity and wealth of this land and its people, by its weathered mountains, fertile valleys and vast plains, by its riches of agriculture and mining, bush and grazing land, by its contrasts of landscape and climate, by our Indigenous people who know and love this continent with an intimate, profound sensitivity and awareness, by the diverse people who now call Australia home. In our diversity, give us open-mindedness and respect for each other, and a passionate and fervent commitment to justice for all. Continue to bless us, that we might be a blessing to others. We ask this through Jesus Christ the Lord. Amen.
Thank you everybody for coming along today, and those of you who unfortunately can't join us here in the hall today because of the COVID restrictions. I hope that the webcast is filling that void for you guys. Today there are a couple of highlights. Firstly, we'll have the citizenship ceremony where we have 6 people who are coming to join us, having the proud moniker of saying they are Australian. When I used to play footy locally, if somebody come in and somebody said, "Oh, what do you play with them for?" I said, as soon as they pull on that red jumper, they're a Singletonian. And I'm pleased to hear that the people are pulling on that green and gold jumper today, and I thank them very much for allowing us to be part of this special day for them. Then we have the Citizen of the Year award. I spoke last night about the fact that we're awarding somebody. And what I meant by that is, most of the time, if you're around and you suffer social media like I do, and people are always complaining and having things, and there's always somebody should do something about that. And the people who are nominated today, they're the somebodies. They've said, no, I'm that somebody, I'm going to do something about that. They've put themselves forward, they've contributed and made a positive impact on our community. Every one of them is really special. The fact that they were nominated, the fact that they were recognised by the people in their community speaks volumes for what they've done. And if they get announced today as the Citizen of the Year, that's a bonus. But I just want to express my deep thanks for all you guys do for our community, and I'm sure the rest of the people in the hall would want to do the same as well. After we've finished today, we're lucky enough that even with COVID restrictions, the Lioness ladies can supply us with a cup of tea and lamingtons out in the foyer. So please join us and no need to race away. Although the council has organised that the gym and swim will be open free of charge for everybody today. So if you brought your togs along, wander over there as soon as you finish. Just on a personal note, Australia Day means a lot to me. I don't know if it's just the date's probably not important. I think the important thing is it's the day we stop, we think, and we reflect about how lucky we are to live where we are and within the community we are. The fact that is Australia perfect? No, it's pretty close, but there's always something to do. There's always ways we can improve. And I think if anybody who watched the national ceremony last night could not be anything but moved by the people who won it. Now, our Australian of the Year was Grace Tame. I hadn't heard of Grace Tame until yesterday. But her plea and the work she's done supporting the people who underwent childhood abuse is just extraordinary. And Dr. Miriam Rusangawara Bowman, who's the Senior Citizen Australian of the Year, with her work with reconciliation and making the Aboriginal culture available to the non-Indigenous part of the community is really good. And Rosemary Karawai, who's there about our migrants, helping them and developing it. So, today is about reflecting, working out how our community can be better, and we're really very much better for the people who are here today. And on that, I'd also really like to thank our special guest speaker, Mr. Charles Croucher. I think it's really important for us to recognise that people from Singleton have been able to leave this community and go and make their way in the world and can make contributions. Charles has been one of those. I chased his mother about it, trying to get him along here a couple of years ago, and then for some strange reason he decided that perhaps a US placement with the Channel 9 network was probably a little bit more important than us. Go figure. But the fact that he's come here today, and is going to give us a bit of a perspective on what it's like to be an Australian in the world, and perhaps what it's like to be a Singletonian in the world. I very much appreciate his presence and look forward to what he has to say. He did mention in a little speech last night that he had been runner-up in the Singleton Sports Star of the Year award 3 years running and never got there. I did tell him that the last person I handed a Singleton Sports Star of the Year award to was Toby Price. Toby received an OAM overnight. So sorry to downplay you, Charles, but we're really looking forward to what you have to say. Thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you, Danny. To the Mayor, councillors, the Citizen of the Year nominees, and mostly importantly, to our newest Australians. Happy Australia Day. I'm Charles Croucher. Danny gave me a wonderful introduction there, and I thank you for it. Most of the time, though, around Singleton, I'm known as Library Lady Lee's eldest son, and that's a title I'll wear. I begin by acknowledging Uncle Warren and the Wanneroo people, their elders past, present and emerging. They are part of a culture and a heritage as old and as rich as forever. A culture that is visible in the faces of the descendants here today and visible on the rock walls of Milbrodale. It's not too far from where we stand right now, and it's sometimes known as the Creator's Cave, which is a very anglicised name, but an ancient drawing of Bwami stands there, his long arms outstretched over the lands of the Wanneroo people. It is the only rock shelter of its kind in Australia, and therefore the only rock shelter of its kind in the world. And today it is still standing there, not far from where we are, the arms outstretched over all the lands and over us here right now. It is an ancient indication for all those that come that this area is welcoming. These days, the physical welcome to Singleton's a little different. You can drive past Baroona and past the paddocks with the cows that are munching on grass that is far greener these days than it's been for decades. Or through the forest of the Putty, past the coal mines that have brought so much wealth to our region and so much wealth to our country. Or over Reddenbury Bridge and the Hunter River, through Singleton Heights and the expanding community where friends and families have made families and friends and made their home. And I promise you, as someone who's spent a bit of time in the far side of the world these last few years, it will always feel like home. It became home to a generation of migrants that explored this region in the 1800s. More came to what was the end of the Northern Line. Farming families at Patrick's Plains or Jerry's Plains or Belford, they carried the nation through federation. Our first Prime Minister was the member for this area. He carried our nation through its early years. Time and time again, the nation has turned to the infantry that called Singleton home when tyranny and hate threatened freedom throughout the world. And as the world went back after war, it was this region that welcomed European migrants. I'm sure there are many different ways in many different European languages to say the word greeter with a thick accent. But these people arrived, backs sore from the snowy mountains, came hands stressed from hours in the fields and the farms, and they helped carry the burden of reconstruction while finding any way to make a buck, any way to make life better for the next generation than their own. You'll notice a theme here. Singleton and the Hunter do a lot of carrying for the country. This is not just time and time again that the nation turns to this region, but it's this region is one of opportunity. Opportunity generations have had to work for. The settlers that struggled against the elements as many sought gold in the West or in Victoria, it was the coal here that would carry us through and out of recession and into prosperity 150 years later. Edmund Barton, that first Prime Minister, struggled through the infancy of our nation before taking a new challenge and serving as our first Justice of the High Court. My grandmother lived on a street bearing his name in this town not too far from here. Generations of infantry have showed what Robert Menzies described as the unconquerable spirit of man, and the freedoms that we've treasured and people around the world have treasured remain with us today. I got to play with the children of those immigrants, the post-war migrants, sometimes their grandchildren, that had fled such hardships and struggled through a new climate, a new country, and for so many, a new language. And most of all, the Wanneroo people have survived so much to continue their culture and their stories and their land as a cornerstone of our community today. This is a community. It's one you'll grow to love if you're the new Australians, and one you already love if you've been here a while. It's a community where fire crews just 12 months ago went back to the flames time and time and time again for 5 months on end. It's where our wines and our people have delighted others around the world, where young sports stars can thrive and lose awards, admittedly, where musicians can be part of the oldest continuing band in Australia's history, where our brightest minds are nurtured, where a generation of friends can have a generation of children that become a generation of friends themselves, and where a hairdresser in her 40s can read a lot, go back to school, retrain, and foster a whole new generation's love of reading and education. On this issue of community, while the pandemic has taught us that Zoom calls can get us through a few things, 2020 has taught us that the online community is not a community. These people here in the crowd next to you they have dreams, they have fears, they have hopes. And in this era of filters and Facebook and hashtag and haters, instead of collecting followers as so many of us try to do, it's time to be a leader. And if you're looking for leaders, there are outstanding nominees in front of us today as the best example we can find. Finally, to our newest Australians about to take that pledge. While the date of Australia Day may change in the future to someday more inclusive, less painful for so many, January 26 will always be your day, the day you became an Australian with Bwami still up in his cave, arms outstretched. It's the day you'll join this community, and a day that is certainly worth celebrating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. I'm pleased you made it today. That was fantastic. I'd like to ask the Mayor if he should present Charles as a gift as on behalf of the Singleton Council, representing you as our community.
Nothing like a change of script, is there? Charles, thank you so much for presentation today. Thank you for coming back to Singleton. It's great to see your face other than on television and see you in person. And I know our community has enjoyed hearing from you again. Thank you.
So much.
I did vary from script there a little bit because I now actually need the Mayor to come forward and conduct the citizenship ceremony. But I thought it was more appropriate that she get presented the gift as well.
Thank you, Dan. I just wrote a note for myself while you were doing your presentation, Charles, and that was never, ever, ever invite an internationally renowned communications and media expert to speak on the same stage as yourself. Because it's just mission impossible. So please, everybody, be gentle with the rest of us, because that was one of the greatest, not only Australia Day presentations I've heard, but presentations in general, to tell a story about our wonderful country, our past, our current, our future, and what community means here in Australia. So can we have another round of applause for Charles? It is time to move on to another really important part of today's proceedings, and that is where we welcome new people, new citizens to this wonderful country of ours. This citizenship ceremony will be conducted under the authority of the Minister for Immigration and Citizenship, and as prescribed by the Australian Citizenship Act, the presiding officer is the Mayor of Singleton, Councillor Sue Moore. As Dan has mentioned before, we have 6 candidates today. It is my pleasure to now introduce them, and I ask them to stand as I call out your name. Firstly, Arshdeep Singh. Leslie Jane Miller. Maria Sembrano. Lilybeth Slatehome. Nelson Druluzulam. And Anus William. Could I ask you guys to please be upstanding? And I'll now call on the Mayor, Councillor Moore, to address the candidates and administer the oath for each candidate. Councillor Sue Moore.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this very special day for you. As the presiding officer, I have been approved under the Act to administer the Pledge of Commitment as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Australia, which is the final step to you becoming an Australian citizen. So the statement of responsibilities is today's ceremony marks the final stage to your journey to becoming an Australian citizen. Australian citizenship is much more than a ceremony, and the decision to become an Australian citizen is a very important one. It's an expression of interest and loyalty and a commitment to Australia and its people, and it shows a desire to share a common future. As an Australian citizen, you're expected to participate fully in our community, respect the rule of law, and support parliamentary democracy. It's also an opportunity to contribute to the freedom and openness which makes Australia unique. Becoming an Australian citizen does not mean forgetting your country of birth or the country where you grew up. What it means is a public commitment to embracing Australian values and the institutions and bringing them to the enrichment of diversity. Citizenship brings responsibilities and duties to obey the laws, to defend Australia, and it also brings civil and social rights, the rights to express your individual heritage and beliefs, coupled with the responsibility to accept the rights of others to express their heritage and beliefs. Only by willingly and fully accepting obligations as Australian citizens can we ensure that the common good and the individual welfare of ourselves and our children is achieved now and in the future. On behalf of the Australian Government, I offer my warmest congratulations and best wishes to you all for the years ahead, and I now invite the following candidates to repeat after me the oath of allegiance. And I think that is all of you that are taking the oaths, so please repeat after me. You have your cards with you. From this time forward under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people. Someone's lost their card. It might be on the floor under the seat, is it? Okay. We'll try and just repeat after me. Whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Congratulations, that includes you becoming Australian citizens, and welcome to being Singletonarians.
Don't go too far, Madam Mayor, because in recognition of the importance of becoming new citizens, I'd like to invite you to read the following message on behalf of the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs, the Honourable Alex Hawke MP.
Thank you. So the Minister's message. We are immensely proud of what we have achieved as a nation, and we welcome you in joining us. Our history and culture has been forged over thousands of years, first through the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and more recently with the people from all corners of the earth. Australia has succeeded as a nation by embracing and defending our national values. We believe in the freedom and dignity to each individual, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom of association. We value the rule of law, democracy, equality of opportunity for all people. We stand with other democracies in helping to defend and protect these hard-fought freedoms. We're a resilient nation. Drought, bushfires, floods, and a global pandemic have challenged our normal way of life. Our social cohesion, a key strength of Australia, has never been more important. Upon taking the pledge of commitment today, I call on you to embrace these values and the rights and responsibilities of Australian citizenship and play an active part in our local communities to build an even stronger nation. On behalf of the Australian Government, I congratulate you on reaching this very special day. Thank you.
I'd now like to ask the candidates to come up as I read your name, receive your certificate from the Mayor, and then take your place back in your seats. Ashdeep Singh. Leslie Jane Miller. And while Leslie's coming to the stage, can I ask all the candidates after the ceremony not to go away, just want to get a group photo of yourselves and the Mayor as well, please. Maria Sembrano. Lilybeth Slatehome. Nelson Jerusalem. and East William.
In recognition of our newest citizens, I'd invite the Singleton Town Band to play the national anthem, accompanied by soloist Jasmine Haynes. Now, due to COVID-19 restrictions, the audience are asked to stand, but please don't sing. I'm just asked not to sing, but that's by the by. And whilst that's happening, we are very lucky that the Army will salute the new citizens of Australia, and as the Guard marches off, we'd like you to thank them as well.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with gold and soil and wealth at both. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's speech, let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful streets, and let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant Southern Cross, we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this Commonwealth of us renowned by all the land. To those who've come across the seas with boundless plains to share, with courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful streets, and let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you. Please take your seats. The next part of our ceremony begins. Normally, our Youth Citizen of the Year would normally like to be invited to come up and speak about their experiences last year. But who's just here to provide glamour on stage, he tells me, feels a little bit worried about speaking in front of you guys. So he's allowed a silly old bald fella to do it on his behalf. Good morning. I would like to introduce myself. I'm a hometown Singleton boy, and I've been involved in swimming since a young age. Over my swimming career, I have achieved 65 state and 30 Australian titles in both age and open events. Pretty cool, isn't he? At the age of 14, I was selected into my first Australian Open team, where I travelled to Ecuador. Being the youngest swimmer in the competition, I was super proud to make the finals. In 2019, I was again selected for my second Open Australian team, and I achieved 2 bronze medals in front of my home country. I've competed at numerous events and have won many titles, such as Swimmer of the Meet, State Champion, Australian Champion, the title of Superfish by the Singleton Argus, and last year becoming Singleton's Young Achiever of the Year. I've been asked many times what my highlight has been, and I would like to say being a role model to young people. Being awarded this has given me pride, and that my dedication and determination has been recognised. Having a mild disability, I've had to overcome my disability and have shown that everyone can achieve their goals with hard work. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Australia Day Committee for their recognition of my achievement by awarding me this honour. Happy Australia Day. I'd like now to invite somebody to the stage who can more than capably speak for themselves. I'd like to invite Gary Holland, our 2020 Citizen of the Year.
Oh, there's a message here, but it's not rules for me, so that's all right. What do you think of me stick? Pretty classy. They are available from Dolly's charity shop, individually made to suit the person. So, now I've got to get rid of it. That's all right. Okay, so hello everyone. Hello everyone at home. I hope your viewing is satisfactory. I want to congratulate the new citizens, and I was very pleased to see the ladies, because that might mean they will bring some cooking into our culture. Hope so. And William can cook, he makes glorious fried rice. So something may come out of this. But thank you for becoming Australians. And I hope that I don't know how long each of you have been here, but I hope you will assimilate into our community, because we do want you to. Because as more and more time passes, we become a bigger family. When I was young and in Singleton, there wasn't virtually nobody but Anglos or descendants of Anglos. Our first taste of Asian culture was when the original Chinese restaurant opened. We didn't have any prior to that, and we were quite ignorant, and we didn't particularly want to be disturbed by other nationalities. But time has changed that, and we are all mixing in together, and that's the important thing. If you go to another country, and if you want to, you can assimilate into that country and they will welcome you. And that's what we want to do in Australia. We want people to come and assimilate and enjoy being Australian. It's extremely important to us. So congratulations. I did prepare something to say, so I better get to it, otherwise I'll be here till tomorrow, and you don't want that. I want to say congratulations to the nominees. You're feeling wonderful sitting there? And look what I got. Look what I got. I know what it feels like. I can remember last year. I think we need to improve on this. I don't think we are getting enough people nominated, because we are a great town with a lot of people doing great things. So we need to have more nominations just so we can recognise the people. One person has to wear the badge, but that doesn't mean much. because everybody does a fabulous job in their area. And that's important because they understand where they are and what they're doing. This gentleman with Legacy, terrific. Dolly's just did a bit of stuff with Legacy, thanks to my grandson, and I really didn't know anything about it. Music. I love music, but I'm totally tone deaf. If you're going to be somewhere and they're singing, don't sit near me. Forewarned is forearmed. Cancer Council, great stuff. Fordwich and Broken and the Vineyards, and that's all terrific. So everybody is doing a diverse job, and that's what we need. That's what we need in Australia. If I miss somebody, what does he do? Fireman. Sorry? Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, well, we have to have the fire brigade. By God, did we what? It was unbelievable what the country has been through. Unbelievable. And these people who work with the fire brigade and the SES and all those things, we see them on telly or somewhere doing their bit, but we don't see all the stuff that's done in the background. Because if the stuff in the background's not done, they can't come fight the fire. So it's all greatly appreciated. And so I say thank you. Thank you for being in my community. I am a Singletonian. I go back to the convict. My convict got sent here from England for stealing. It wasn't a loaf of bread, it was jewellery and money. So he was a thief. And he got sent here. He worked for our first Mayor Munro on his vineyard. 10 years later, he got his ticket to freedom. And at that age, 10 years later from arriving here, he was 25. So when he was sent as a convict, he was a 15-year-old kid. Amazing. But he also got his ticket to marry. On paper it said his bride was 16, but in actual fact she was 13, because people didn't want their daughters. The thing was to get rid of them. They weren't productive with anything. Anyhow, they were married in the church that was where the church is behind the Imperial. And it flowed on generation after that generation. None of them got any richer. They all stayed poor, and the poor has continued down the line, I can tell you. But nevertheless, the year has passed, and what a year it was, or wasn't, might be more correct. Last year, I received this honour, and things got off to a flying start. We had our bicentenary celebrations lined up, ready for a great time through the year, a great time of fun and fellowship. But then the COVID virus anvil fell and crushed a lot. It was all gone, and had to be. The whole world changed before our eyes. And I don't know if it will ever be the same again. Probably it shouldn't be. I don't think our country will ever be the same again, and I hope not. I hope we can come back to being more self-sufficient and not relying on other countries for everything. In comparison to so many places, we have been more than very fortunate. For a long time, I thought COVID was just other places. We didn't really have much to worry about, because I hadn't heard of a case in the Hunter Valley. I didn't know anyone who had COVID, so it was hard to make it real. But real, we had to make it, and we had to abide by the rules that we abide by today. And I find that very difficult because I'm very cuddleable. That right? No, I like to be cuddled. That'll do. So we might get back to that one day. But due to these dramatic effects, our charity organisations are stretched past their limits. There are more folk needing help than can be helped to the extent needed. Now you may say, well, I'm okay, mate, that's all that matters. But I tell you, that is not the attitude of Aussies. So you can forget that one. Aussies would say, I'm okay, mate, and then ask, how are you? All the charity organisations in our shire need help. And can you help? I think you can, as there are many different ways to do so. The very wrong way is to land them with your junk. The charities are not a free pass to the garbage tip. And getting rid of the junk that people dump on them costs a lot of money that could be used in many other areas. You may choose to give support with the greatest gift you have, and that is your time. Time is the only real commodity that each of us has. And if we all just give a little, if we donate a little of our time, then we are supporting our country, our community, our town, and our Aussie mates. Then, and only then, will we come through this together. Our council works very hard trying to assure that all the requirements and needs of our diverse community are met. Now, I'll give you a good example of this. In Nolan Park, there is a toilet block, and it has 2 doors. On one door, there is a sign that reads unisex toilet, and then it has a very large LH. The door next to it says unisex toilet and has a very large RH. So I'll leave that with you. I wish to again thank the Australia Day Committee for the honour of being the citizen for 2020. I am the 42nd person to receive this honour. And for that, I say thank you very much. And thank you.
Thanks, Gary. And I was most surprised, nearly shocked when you said you like colours. I would never have guessed. I said I was most surprised and shocked when you said you like colours. I would never have guessed. And I think today's uniform slightly outdoes last year's. You made an impact as well. So Gary will come back later on and help present the award to our Citizen of the Year. We don't have any nominations for the Young Achiever for this year. As Gary has mentioned, that is something we need to work with our community on, because we do know, like Darcy, there are lots and loads of young people in our community who are doing wonderful things and who are achieving things way beyond expectations and way beyond belief. So as a community, on behalf of the committee, on behalf of the council, I encourage people to reach out, identify those people, make sure their names are put forward so we can recognise their achievements in next year's ceremony. We do have 5 nominees for this year's Citizen of the Year Awards. I'm going to read out their profiles. When I do, I ask the nominee to come up, receive your certificate from the Mayor, then go back to your seat until you conclude reading the profiles of each of the individual nominees, and then we will have Mr. Holland make the announcement of this year's Citizen of the Year. So our first nominee is Jan Faulding. Jan. Sounds like Jan's got a pretty strong support group on my left. Jan Faulding is a passionate advocate for music, tourism and the arts, and devotes a considerable amount of her time to helping the Singleton community. Jan was the concert coordinator for Sacred Spaces at the Singleton Sisters of Mercy Convent for almost 20 years, until the closure in September of last year. Jan volunteered as a coordinator of the inaugural Singleton Arts Festival in 2011, where 30 events were hosted in and around Singleton over a 2-week period. Jan also assisted in the organisation of the Singleton Festival as a committee member in 2013, 15 and 17. A talented violinist, Jan has volunteered at Singleton Public Library for 15 years, performing in the ever-popular Storytime segment for children. Jan helped restart and grow the Singleton Public School band program from 2011 to 2016, was an active P&C member and volunteered for music appreciation classes for special education, kindergarten and Year 1 classes. Jan has also organised and participated as a band member in the Barami Bush Dance, performed in the orchestra for Singleton Theatrical Society productions, and advocated for the arts and tourism on the Singleton Arts and Cultural Community Advisory Group, Singleton Cultural Development Advisory Committee and the Singleton Tourism Advisory Committee. Jan Faulding. Wendy Lawson. For those familiar with the Broke-Forbridge area, Wendy Lawson needs no introduction. As a landholder and a vigneron at Catherine Vale Vineyard, Wendy's contribution to our community are vast, from environmental protection, tourism and viticulture. Wendy has been president of the Broke-Bulga Landcare for over 20 years, treasurer of the Singleton Landcare Network and a member for 2 decades, and member of several other environmental groups including the Wollombi Catchment Water Users Group, the Upper Hunter Irrigators Committee and the community leader of the Broke Cleanup Australia Day campaign. A passionate advocate for local tourism, Wendy received an Order of Australia Medal in 2012 for her contribution to tourism, viticulture and their environment. Wendy is a life member of the Broke-Forbridge Wine Growers Association, a founding member and former president of the Broke-Forbridge Tourism Association, chair of the Broke-Bulga Forbridge and Milbrodale Alliance, a member of the Singleton Tourism Advisory Board, vice president of the Tourism Singleton Incorporation, Broke Village Fair, Singleton Wine and Roses, and the Broke Harvest and Heritage Festival. Wendy Lawson. Kenneth Mackett. As a Senior Deputy Captain of the Putty Rural Fire Service, 2020 was a busy year for Ken Mackett. What an understatement that would be, Ken. In a horror start to the year, particularly on the New South Wales coast, Victoria and the Hunter Valley, it was the New South Wales Rural Fire Service, including thousands of volunteers like Ken, who were on the front line. What started as a lightning bolt led to the Gospers Mountain mega fire, which threatened homes in the Putty and Howes Valley to the south of the Singleton local government area. The biggest forest fire to have started from a single ignition point that Australia has ever known. Ken was instrumental in frontline protecting properties with the rest of his brigade, a blaze which eventually burnt through over 1 million hectares. Ken is passionate about local environment and is a member of the Three Valleys Landcare Group and was part of the team involved in the restoration of Putty Creek. Ken will celebrate his 20th year as a volunteer firefighter in 2021. Ken Mackett. Kay Sullivan. Kay Sullivan is President and founding member of the Singleton Cancer Appeal Committee. As the leader of this hard-working committed community group, Kay has raised considerable funds for Singleton Hospital to ensure locals can have access to medical treatment within Singleton rather than having to travel to Newcastle. Kay has been successful in obtaining grants and sponsorship from many businesses and community members. Funds that have been used to refurbish 4 palliative care rooms at Singleton Health Service, the purchase of operating theatre equipment for early diagnosis of cancer and monitoring equipment for the palliative care rooms located within the health service. Her most recent vision was the construction of the Singleton Memorial Sensory Garden, which is located in the grounds of the Singleton Hospital, and which was opened in March of 2020. Kay has been a member of the Singleton Local Area Health Advisory Committee of Hunter New England Health and provides support and a voice for the community. Each week, Kay works with special needs children, an activity she undertakes with enthusiasm and compassion. In 2019, Kay was a recipient of the Hunter Volunteer Award from the federal member for the Hunter, Joel Fitzgibbon, and a recipient of the Paul Harris Fellowship in 2013 in acknowledgement of her outstanding community contribution. Kay Sullivan. And last, but certainly not least, Fred Turner. In hot and blustery conditions, when the threat of bushfire escalates to reality, Fred Turner is among those heading towards the flames. The Rural Fire Service Group Officer, Hunter Valley, has been a volunteer for almost 40 years, starting out at Carrabrook after taking over management of Lake St Clair. Fred has since retired after 28 years overseeing the maintenance and operation of the lake, but his commitment to the RFS has only strengthened. He rose through the ranks to Group Officer and now plays a commanding role in managing fires, usually from the bird's eye view of a helicopter. Fred has recently acquired an accredited air observer's qualification, enabling him to direct the helicopter pilot using his own knowledge of the Singleton district. If his job as Group Officer isn't consuming enough, Fred has also found time over the last decade to dedicate to the Singleton Legacy Group, 8 years as Secretary, volunteers at the Australian Army Infantry Museum, is an honorary member of the Infantry Centre Sergeant's Mess, and has been a member of the Singleton Lions Club and Singleton RSL sub-branch. Mr. Fred Turner. I now call on our 2020 Citizen of the Year, Mr. Gary Holland, to make the presentation to the 2021 awardee.
Well, the 43rd Citizen of the Year is Fred Turner.
No such thing as a free lunch, Ted. Fred. Ted. No such thing as a free lunch, Fred, I should say. I'm sure everybody in attendance and online would be waiting to hear a few words from yourself.
Thank you. Gee, wow. I was told to be prepared in case something happened, and never thought I'd be here. Wow. Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge Mayor Sue, Australia Day Ambassador Charles, Australia Day Chair Danny, Lieutenant Colonel James Smith, councillors, GM Jason, fellow nominees, new citizens and Singleton community, and Uncle Warren. I'm extremely proud to receive this honour. My thanks and appreciation to those individuals that nominated me and felt that I was worthy of this. I struggle with this sort of stuff a bit, but I thank you for that recognition. Thank you to those that nominated me, including Nigel Cox and Hilary Smith. Can I congratulate and thank all the nominees for the great work you do, the personal sacrifices that you make to ensure that Singleton community gets the best level and most appropriate services available. Singleton is most fortunate to have you in our community. As I look around the room today, I see many volunteers that do a lot in their own time to make Singleton a better place, and thank you for that. Thank you to my family that if you don't have a supportive family when you're a volunteer, you all know that it'll fall apart, so you've got to have that rock behind you. So the serious stuff is that I've been fortunate and privileged to work with some lead some amazing dedicated volunteer firefighters at major fires and emergency incidents. In 1920, I continually witnessed the unselfish firefighter pride and dedication that drove our volunteers on to manage extreme, unprecedented fire conditions and trauma. As a consequence, their own others' emotional trauma, was a big deal. They did it really tough this year. Our community is in good hands. My involvement in Singleton Legacy is very rewarding, assisting our 23 legatees to monitor and provide services and emotional support to our 47 widows and wards in our district. I call it maintaining and caring for our heritage. They're a wonderful bunch, interesting, very humble group, and along with all of Singleton's aged population, are valuable assets within our community. So let's look after them. Thanks to the Singleton community and the Singleton School of Infantry and Lone Pine Barracks, we're able to fund Singleton Legacy's operation through your generous donations during Legacy Badge Week each year in September. Without you people in the community donating your time and funds, we wouldn't be able to survive, so thank you. It's well known communities survive and prosper through volunteering. So if you have the inclination, look around at the groups that need volunteers. Age is no barrier. Don't ever think you're too old. Always remember, volunteers generally don't have time to volunteer. It's the old cliche, but they make time. So if you've got that little bit of time that Gary mentioned, please think about all our charity groups. Thank you for this wonderful honour. Best wishes for a healthy, vibrant, uplifting 2021 and beyond, and happy Australia Day.
Thanks, Fred, and apologies for calling you Ted. I'm not sure where that came from, but yeah, it was a bit of left field, wasn't it? I'd now like to call on Mitch Madden, who's representing the Chairman and the Board of Singleton Diggers, to make a presentation to our 2021 Citizen of the Year.
speech to beat Gary's.
Yeah,
next year, I'll tell you. But good luck.
Thank you very much. Today's been a very special day, and once again, help everybody celebrate being an Australian. The quip that Mitch just gave to Fred was, you've got 12 months now to come up with a better speech than Gary's. Many people have contributed to today, and I'd really like to thank the official party, particularly our guest speaker, the School of Infantry, and for the Guard and the flag breaking ceremony. That was just awesome. It was lovely to have them back. And these wonderful people. This is this is the COVID light version of the Singleton Town Band. A lot of the members couldn't make it here today because of restrictions on numbers, but it should give us all a great deal of pride to recognise these people as the longest continuous town band in Australia. Obviously, the people who have been part of the Australia Day Committee and who have worked pretty hard over the year to come up with today. It's been a very difficult one because the COVID thing just came and went, and at one stage we had a 4 metre rule, then we had a 2 metre rule, then we got a 2.5 metre rule. It's been very difficult. And unfortunately we couldn't have our public celebrations last night, but Council, and I remind everybody here and online, have a bit of an incentive for people to show how they've, as a family, celebrated Australia Day. So if you'd like to download a picture or tell a story about how you celebrated Australia Day, you may also help some local businesses because you could win a Buy in Singleton card as part of that. And last night I got one of the former Citizens of the Year said, "Oh, how late can I put my submission in?" And I said, "Why?" I said, "Well, look, we've got 4 Solomon Islander people who are working with us, and they're coming around to our place to have their first Australia Day celebration. So they're having sausages and lamingtons and swimming in the pool." And I thought that was, pretty much what we want to see happening. So if people can recognise that and show how they appreciate Australia Day in their own way, please do, and then we can foster it within our community. I'd just like you now to recognise that the Lioness Club of Singleton will be serving morning tea out in the foyer. Please don't race away. Please join us for morning tea and celebrate with these somebodies. Aren't they fabulous somebodies and what they do for our community? Thank you very much for all the nominees. Those of you who pulled on the green and gold jumper, well done. Thank you very much. Have a happy Australia Day.